For me, there was just, I don't remember a time in my life that there wasn't religion involved. Like, I was in church 9 months before I was born. My grandfather was an independent fundamental Baptist preacher. My mom played the piano, my aunt played the organ, and my dad led the choir. So I started in a cult as a newborn.
Citizens of America, it's high time to get woke to righteousness.
I think I was around the age of 5. We switched to a church that was an independent fundamental Baptist church that preached hellfire and brimstone regularly. And the goal of that church was to put a fear into the children. They wanted us terrified of burning in a lake of fire so that we would behave. I knew I was gay when I was a child. It was the worst sin of them all, was to be gay. I can't tell you how many times I heard a pastor say that gay people should be put to death because they're an abomination. As a child, I genuinely felt like they would unalive me if they found out I was gay. I genuinely thought they would kill me because God wouldn't fix me. And I felt that way because of the preaching that I heard growing up.
Homosexuality is as despicable in the eyes of God now as it was in the days of Lot. God's attitude toward this sin has not changed because God never changes himself.
So for me, I was playing this clock of trying to survive death so that I could figure out how to get into heaven to not be gay anymore. Like it was this ticking time clock for me from my entire childhood. Every day I would prepare what I would say to God if that was the day that I went for my judgment day. So every day I was coming up with new scenarios over and over and over to try and fix this issue that God wouldn't fix, no matter how many times I begged him. So for me, that was my childhood. That's all that my childhood was fear of burning in hell. Every Sunday after church, we went to my grandparents' house for lunch. And every Sunday after church, I would listen to my family sit around and gossip and talk about all the people and all the sins that they're living and all this stuff. And so I knew exactly how they felt and what they would do. Early in my life, I played a game of I didn't care because I was just trying to escape hell. And then at some point you give up and you accept the fact that you're gay, nothing's gonna change it. And then at that point my fear wasn't so much burning in hell as it was, what are they gonna do when they find out and what's that gonna mean for my life? And how long can I keep this secret? I was negotiating with God and trying to play a fictional character. I was trying to prove to the world I was straight, and I would freak out if I thought somebody caught me looking at a guy too long, or if I was over friendly, or if I made the wrong mannerism at school. Every time my name would get called over the intercom, my heart would drop because the first thing that would go through my head is they found out, they now know. And this is where it's going down for me. I dated girls in high school, but I never was intimate or tried to be physical with girls. That's one of the things I feel like I missed out a lot on, was because I didn't get to truly date. I think when you have to hide that part of your life through your teenage years, it deals a lot with your brain development in that aspect of you want a relationship that you can't have, that you're terrified of everybody finding out.
So how old were you when you first got into a relationship with a man?
20. A good friend of mine, she went to ETSU, and the guy that the first guy I dated, he lived across the hall from her, and that's how him and I met. There was some day that he was with me and my mom ran into us or something, and they knew he existed. They knew that there was a person. They didn't know the depth of our relationship. And Nick, he had the bleached hair and the earrings, and he didn't scream straight. So my mom, immediately had all these flags going off in her mind. That was the moment the questioning started of, are you gay? And how do you deal with it? And that's when conversion therapy got introduced. My mom had convinced Nick to go to church. Nick had never been to church. The hellfire and brimstone got to him. He genuinely thought he could change, and he went to the pastor for counseling. And that's when he started conversion therapy. He started before me. Because of my mom's relationship with the pastor and how close our families were, my mom was able to get the information to validate that Nick was gay and that we were in a relationship, and that's when I pretty much got outed. Everybody loved me because of the roles that I played, but I knew the moment everybody found out the truth about me that they would all turn their backs on me. And that was kind of the manipulation tactic that they used. They basically say, you know, you've committed these horrible sins and we'll keep your secrets as long as you do this therapy. Conversion therapy has a lot of different levels. It can start from something as simple as weekly meetings with a pastor, to therapy appointments, to weekend retreats. And there's different levels of how intense it gets. You know, you start out in the beginning and it's like, will you just go back to living a lie? Will you just lie and say you're not gay, marry a woman, manipulate her, and move on with your life and have kids? That was the easiest solution that they gave me. So for me, I didn't want to be exposed. I didn't want to lose my family, because I mean, they sit and make you tell all the acts that you've done with someone of the same sex. They wrote it down on a piece of paper. They had a folder that they were keeping this stuff in. And then they used that as ammunition to blackmail me because they were going to tell the things that I had done. And that was how they had their control. So I was willing to at least try and meet them halfway. So for me, it started with weekly sessions with the pastor, and I was going to weekly sessions. I didn't go long to Mustard Seed Ministries, but with a Reformed homosexual therapist there. And the biggest turning point for me in conversion therapy was in the beginning, and it was I went to a James Dobson Reformed homosexual conference in Charlotte, North Carolina, and there were hundreds of us there as kids.
Well, now to the controversy over sexuality and faith. A major conference at Focus on the Family today teaches people how to overcome homosexuality. It's called Love One Out. As News First, David Talkin reports some say it works, others call it dangerous.
Preventing homosexuality through faith. It's a movement that drew 900 people to Focus on the Family. And Jeff Johnston is one of the success stories.
Just as there are many ways into homosexuality, there's a lot of different ways out.
He says he used to be gay, and years ago, a conference similar to this one started him on a journey to heal his homosexuality.
At that conference, I heard two kids I overheard them talking in the bathroom about the facilities that they were living at. One of the kids that was talking, they were being starved and abused, and the other kid was talking about that they'd been doing electroshock therapy on him. And I just remember sitting in that bathroom listening to that thinking, like, what am I in? How is this what my parents are doing to me? Because most of this abuse is coming from leaders and your parents and just people that you admire and look up to. And they're doing this abuse to you and calling it love. Like you're sitting there thinking, if you don't continue on in this, they're gonna out you to the entire world. They're gonna tell everybody that you have any type of a connection with. They're gonna tell them all at the same time. And everybody's gonna leave your life if you don't keep going through this. And at that point, I was just like, I knew what limit I would go to. And in my mind, I was just hoping that they would meet me halfway before we got to that limit. In conversion therapy, they want you to write out your life. They want you to write in detail your entire life, and it's a script that you're gonna live by every single day so that you don't ever slip up or fall back into that sin. And because I wouldn't make a plan to manipulate and marry a woman, it was you need more intense therapy, which would be to go live somewhere. And that was the point that I knew I wouldn't go past. And I only had that option because I was 20. Kids that are under 18, they don't get that choice. They just get sent. But I mean, I've got friends that spent 3 to 5 years at these facilities or in this type of counseling trying to go through this. Men that married women that are back in the counseling after they get married. The suicide rate is astronomical for this type of torture, but it still goes on. I tried to kill myself in conversion therapy. I took a bottle of pills. And laid down one night, and it was the first time since it had all started that I peacefully went to sleep. And I remember just laying down and closing my eyes thinking, I'm never going to wake up and I'm never going to go through this again. I'm never going to hear how perverted I am, or that I'm a pedophile, or that I'm evil, or an abomination, or that I deserve death, or that God will never love me and that nobody can love me. Like all of those things, I laid down and I was like, I'm never going to hear it again. And then woke up and ended up in the hospital for it. I think conversion therapy did something to me, and I think it does something to every person that goes through it. There is a level of damage that is done to a person through conversion therapy that I don't think you ever can come back from. You're talking about therapy from your mentors and the people that you respect the most in your life, or those people sending you into counseling or therapy that basically is made to make you feel disgusting about yourself. I think that true Christians need to stand up to the ones that are doing this type of stuff. You can't say, well, I'm a Christian, but I don't believe that way. If you turn your head to that type of abuse happening, you can't participate in an organization that gives money towards conversion therapy for minors and say, well, I don't believe in that, or I don't support that, when you are genuinely contributing your time, your efforts, your energy, and your money into something that harms children. And I don't think it's ever going to change until the Christians that say they're good Christians stand up to the ones who use God's name in vain for that type of gain. I don't want revenge. I don't want apologies. I just want awareness. I want people to know what they are doing to children. It's going on. There's no plans of it stopping. And there's now enough of us that they've done it to that we have the confidence to speak up about it.